The 70s saw radical social change throughout all of society. This change is evident in the movies and TV of the time. The first blaxploitation film was released in 1971, and Sigourney Weaver immortalized Ripley as arguably the first female action hero in 1979. Disenfranchised communities worldwide were beginning to have their faces seen and their voices heard. One of the biggest symbols of this change was Bruce Lee, an Asian American martial artist and actor who shattered racial stereotypes and championed social change. These themes are no more evident than in his posthumous magnum opus that catapulted him into an almost mythical level of fame and made him the avatar of the ostracized. Enter the Dragon. The first movie to be co-produced by both Chinese and American studios, Enter the Dragon ushered in a new, more inclusive era of cinema. So let's analyze exactly how this was done. The first major character we are introduced to is Lee, who isn't really a character as much as he's at peak Bruce Lee levels, with his unique philosophy, impressive martial arts skills, and undeniable charisma dialed up to the max.
It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
His very portrayal of a heroic Chinese figure leading in a Hollywood film during this time was groundbreaking, and something Bruce had to battle to get. In an interview by Tom Gray with the film's producer Andre Morgan, he had this to say. But he had one major strike against him. He was Chinese. Regardless of his eye-popping martial arts skills and background as a child actor in the Hong Kong film industry, Hollywood's biggest power brokers were unwilling to risk a significant investment on a 5'7", 135 pounds Chinese leading man with a thick Cantonese accent. From being massively underpaid for his role on Green Hornet, to losing out on Chinese roles to white actors, like the 1972 TV show Kung Fu, to pitching shows to studios like Warner Bros. That would never see the light of day, such as Warrior, all because Bruce's accent was deemed too hard to understand.
Bullshit, Mr. Handman!
Before Bruce, Asian people were only ever represented in Western media in the form of insulting caricatures that pushed racial stereotypes, like the big-bellied, beard-twirling, conniving villain, or skinny, submissive worker that looks down when spoken to. Bruce Lee detested these stereotypes, and when he finally got his fair shot in Hollywood after becoming a star in Hong Kong cinema, he chose to subvert these stereotypes by presenting himself as a confident, skilled, and smart martial artist, set on avenging his sister's death and taking down Han's drug trafficking operation. The story itself borrows massively from the James Bond film Dr. No, and in my opinion stands as a statement that Chinese actors and people of colour can lead in an action movie, and play upon all the same tropes that white male actors use, while also respectfully representing their own culture. Essentially taking a film that represents everything people in minority groups weren't allowed to be, and doing it bigger and better than Bruce's Western counterparts. Another brilliant example of representation and the direct way the film battles against stereotypes is in the character of Williams, played by world karate champion Jim Kelly, an African-American Vietnam veteran and skilled fighter. Although films like Guess Who's Coming Home to Dinner came out in 1967, featuring an African-American leading man in Sidney Poitier, the film doesn't do much to represent African-American culture as much as ignore it. Or, as Cameron Bailey, artistic director and co-head of the Toronto International Film Festival put it, Sidney Poitier has to look great, has to be the most handsome person on screen, perfect in every way, to be accepted within white society. Williams' representation is handled a little differently, with us meeting him in a dojo adorned with symbols and clothing that represent African American culture. Shortly after this, he is spotted by two racist cops who try to arrest him for nothing, to which he replies swiftly.
Where's the plane ticket for?
Hong Kong. By Hawaii.
He's not going to Hawaii.
Well, look what we got here! Holding a police officer!
Williams is an honourable and moral man, who ultimately gets killed by Han for refusing to turn on Lee. He isn't looking to be accepted into any group, nor play into any bigoted stereotypes around his race.
They don't live so big over there. Ghettos are the same all over the world. They stink.
This willingness not to shy away from African American and Asian culture, as well as to depict the racism and discrimination they face in such a direct way, was truly ahead of its time.
You still think of yourself Chinese, or do you ever think of yourself as North American?
You know what I want to think of myself? As a human being. Because, I mean, I don't want to sound like, you know, as Confucius say, but under the sky, under the heaven, man, there is but one family. It just so happened, man, that people are different.
Okay, we got to go. Thank you, Bruce Lee, for coming here. Thank you for watching.